Hello, everyone, and welcome to Perspective Unleashed, the show that brings you stories, facts, and insight that gives you a wholesome perspective from the Word of God and the world around you. My name is Shay Adenawa, and with me is my beautiful host,
Bookie Bash. Welcome to the program. Today we're going to be talking about an insightful topic, and we're going to be looking at the subject of fundamental human rights. There are certain fundamental human rights that everybody in the whole universe has a right to. We're going to list out these human rights and we're going to take them one by one. And then we're also going to look at what is happening in the world today, how certain institutions and people are infringing on these human rights. And some people are not even aware that they are rights that they are infringing on. So we're bringing awareness and we're going to be sharing some perspective and also going to the Word of God to make you see how God sees these things and what God really, really wants. But before we delve into the 10 fundamental human rights, so what is human rights? Now, human rights is the rights that everyone has, irrespective of their race or their status or their religion or whatever thing that could, differentiate anyone from another. It is that right that every person in the world has, irrespective of your status. So what are these human rights? We're going to be discussing it, Shay.
Yeah.
So let's begin with the first one.
Okay, so the first human right that I'd like us to talk about is the right to life. So now this one is everyone has a right to live. And we see in the world that we live in today that that right is oftentimes infringed on by fellow human beings, by the government, by eugenics, trying to tell us who deserves to be alive and who should die. We see it so much in modern medicine, in procedures like abortion, saying if I don't want to give birth to the child, we've already seen the definition of human rights that every human being, so an unborn child is a human being. You don't become 10% a human, and when you're born 100%
from the
inception,
point of life,
you are 100% human being. So that child as well has the right to life. But then we see so many practices in the world that we live today. We see so many beliefs, so many structures that exist societally, right, that infringes on the right to life. From putting carcinogens inside food to processed food that have like things that cause cancer, knowing fully well that these things are going to kill you. Might not be outrightly holding a knife to someone's neck, but your actions and inactions can be stripping someone else of their right to life.
Right. And I actually see that really being expressed in the depopulation agenda.
Yes.
Because the depopulation agenda is really infringing on the right to life. Everybody born into this world has a right to live. You cannot say that there are too many people in the world. Did you create Earth?
Exactly.
So no human being has a right to say we are too many, because you have that fundamental human right to live. And so you can't say, okay, this one should give birth, this one should not give birth. When you're doing things or you're sponsoring campaigns or you're sponsoring things to make people infertile, you are infringing on their fundamental human rights to life. And so anybody positioned in that thing, or you're sponsoring it, whether with your time, your energy, your resources, you are infringing on people's fundamental human right to life. Everybody has a right to live, irrespective of whether they are suffering a condition, a mental condition or a physical condition, whatever it is. Life is a gift, and every human being has a right to life. And so any institution that is set up to remove that fundamental human right is not of God. And they may be doing it actively or passively. Most times, people that infringe on human rights, they do it passively.
They do it passively.
They won't come straight at you and say you should not live or you cannot live.
Oftentimes it's rebranded as a very helpful, wholesome,
we're trying to help you. We're trying to keep you healthy.
It's always branded as that. We're looking out for you. It's always branded as a certain type of advocacy, but in truth, it's really it's very satanic, right? You don't have any right to define how long. Even I remember having a conversation with a friend and the friend was saying that the only reason why they can tell you that life expectancy is this age is because they have already done everything to ensure that it is that age.
That you don't live above that.
You don't live above that age. Because who are you to say when a man should live and when a man should die? That is not your responsibility.
And
human beings like to play God in so many areas. We like to I don't know essentially what they're trying to do, but we oftentimes like to play God. And then the infringement on the right to life in so many regards is one of the ways that human beings oftentimes like to play God in the affairs of men. There's already a king over the affairs of men, and it is
Yeah.
God. Can we just allow God do his
Do
thing?
his thing and be God.
And be God?
Yeah,
Right?
so
it would be nice if we did. I think we'd enjoy this earth a lot more if we allowed God reign over the affairs of men like he intended.
yes, and the thing is that a lot of people just, consume some things not knowing that there are some people behind these things that have put things in them that are killing them. And it still goes to the point that they don't want you to live, and they don't want you to live as long as you're supposed to.
Or up to the potential that God has designed it
Up to the
for.
potential that God has designed it for. Talking about the right to life, so many things around us, point to some agenda wanting to reduce your lifespan. You have a right to life. The Lord has given us life and life abundantly. Hold on to your life.